joined once again here by Moo. Moo lives right here in East Palestine in downtown. Talked to her on our first trip here when you had just been diagnosed with chemical bronchitis initially. Spoke to you on our second trip. You're still dealing with health effects from it. We're now 3 months to the day from the derailment happening. First off, I guess, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling any better? How are things going at this point?
I was getting better, and then, of course, the railroad was trying to screw me on the money and stuff. They wanted too much information on people that I was written off of, like driver's license, social security cards, and all that, a paper trail. And they don't want to give me their social security numbers. So, like, I want to give it to you or anything, you know. Right. So it's kind of hard getting that money. So I'm back in my apartment now, and I'm getting sick again. Of course, the creek's right there beside my apartment.
Right, and that's the unfortunate reality. I mean, at this point they have removed some of the aeration devices going on here, but the creek is clearly still not in good shape. It's still clean. It's still not clean. They're still removing soil and tracks. They've finished one half of the tracks, but, you still have the whole other side of the tracks yet to be removed, which doesn't spell good news for what's happening in the creek. I guess, so they're asking you for the people you're staying with social security numbers and things like that at that point?
Yes, and driver's license.
Mm-hmm. So we spoke with somebody yesterday who is in a similar situation. Her name isn't on the lease where she's staying. She's lived there for a while, and she's having a hard time getting any sort of assistance as well. So she's stuck also staying essentially right along Sulphur Run in a different spot than you. So you're not the only person in this situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't want the social security cards. Like, they shouldn't have to be brought into this. That was their mistake. You got my information. You don't need theirs, Like, it's like a hotel, Like, you don't want all that information. You shouldn't have to go to all these people and get their money afterwards or tax them, for helping out. They opened up their homes to us.
Right.
And I don't want to go live in a hotel. I already got out of that stuff.
Right.
It's like a home again, It's like home besides home.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we've talked about this before, but the folks who are staying in hotels they might be there for 5 or 6 days, then that hotel is filled up and sold out, they need to pick up and move. We're seeing families who've got a couple kids, pets, all staying in a hotel room. Trying to make meals and dinner in a hotel is difficult. You got a microwave and a fridge. That's not a way to live, especially for literally 3 months at this point. So
you used to get fat eating on the microwave.
Yeah. And it's not cheap either. It's not healthy food. It's not cheap. It's not a sustainable way to do this. And again, to your point, it's not your all's fault that this is happening. This is the fault of Norfolk Southern. You all are still needing to try to beg from them, which you shouldn't need to. This is their fault. You got to go in there, unfortunately, begging to get any of this relocation money. It's
hard to
outrageous.
Get food too, because they were like, "Oh, you should already be paying for food and all that." Well, no, because I would be eating, like regular food, like at home, groceries, eating stuff like that. Not eating out all the time or in the microwave. It gets expensive. Or you go out to eat every once in a while, and they're like, "Hold on, that's too much there." And I was like, "Well, sometimes you need to go eat a good meal every once in a while."
Yeah. So I guess symptom-wise at this point, what are you feeling? Has anything gotten better? Anything gotten worse? I'm curious. How are you feeling these days?
Actually, I got the cough back and everything. Of course, sound. And I don't want to be gross or anything, but I got like the shits like everyone else. It's like yellow brownish shit, like liquid. I don't understand what it is. Right. Like, I'm not even drinking the water, but it's still like it's affecting.
Yeah, it's still affecting you.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Stella, Jamie's mom. Yeah, she was saying the same thing. Like, it's.
Yep. Yeah, we'll actually be talking with Stella.
No,
you're good. We're going to be talking with Stella tomorrow. Actually, meeting with her, and we've spoken with several other people who've mentioned stomach issues as well. Yes. In addition to still, folks getting rashes, sore throats, headaches, still all of this sort of stuff. Definitely headaches.
Always tired.
At this point, I mean, it's been 3 months. We had some politicians roll into town earlier on in this. There's been a lot of talk earlier on in this about what to do to prevent something like this from happening again. Unfortunately, no new legislation has really made much news lately. It doesn't seem like anything's going to happen. Governor DeWine is kind of making it sound like once June rolls around and they're done removing soil from the area, the state's kind of going to back away from this and call it done.
That's what we're afraid of.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be done after they're done with the tracks. Like people's health is still in the air, still in our water, still in our soil. Even though you're going to be done with that, it's not done here yet.
Right.
And we should still be able to get it taken care of until, it's not going to be cleaned yet.
Right. And unfortunately, not only are they kind of trying to move on, other agencies like the EPA and the CDC, I mean, the EPA at this point, a lot of the information that they're publishing is confusing as hell. It's not answering a lot of the questions that residents have. All of you deserve to have these answers presented in a clear,
Yes.
easy to understand way. And especially in the case of, some of the folks who have like drinking water wells who are, maybe not right on the municipal water system. I saw some of the documents that they're getting, and it's essentially 200 complicated chemicals with different levels on all of them. And you don't know what level is safe, what is not. They're not being provided with any sort of instructions as to what's going on.
They're winging it through the whole thing. We have not got any information like Facebook or Jamie's. The only thing that we actually get information from.
Right.
They don't tell us anything.
Right.
They just wing it from person to person.
and winging it is what it seems like to me too. It seems like there's no clear plan.
Nope.
And unfortunately, obviously this is a major issue that happened. This does not happen very frequently. So, you can. I'd be willing to give a little bit of leeway for like early days, right? That there's a lot going on, but you've had 3 months to get your act together, and they haven't. And then, not to mention, you've had other issues happen, smaller scales. But I covered a little bit of what happened in Richmond, Indiana. They had a big plastics recycling center catch on fire, creating all sorts of. It's pretty bad. Created all sorts of issues in the air. Big black plume of smoke, similar to what we saw here. Again, a little bit smaller, but all of it blew right through a neighborhood. And there was all sorts of issues in that neighborhood. The EPA didn't have any real plan or answers to questions at that point. So, they just had the practice here. You know what I mean? Like, let's learn those lessons. And it seems like they're not, unfortunately.
They should already had that already set up. Like, what happens if you're going to do this before they even put the trains out on them tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I agree. One last thing.
Especially when it's on fire like 4 cities away. Like, come on. Like, you didn't notice? Like, no one actually called it in or nothing? Like,
right.
It could have been prevented.
It definitely could have been. And that part of it is just like kind of the corporate greed side of it is like, to your point, right, 40 miles away, basically, over in Salem, they have video of the wheels on fire, basically, like molten metal essentially being launched up in the air off of these wheel bearings and whatnot.
Actually, like transporting all of these chemicals like that, they should already have that already set up.
Agreed.
Hey, if accidents happen, we understand it does happen. Mm-hmm. They should already, hey, if this happens, we have to do this and this response, we should know what's on there.
Right.
How long did it take them to realize what was on that train?
Right. Yep.
Now there's like 9, I guess there's 9 more, or 9 toxins now.
Yeah.
Like, they keep digging up more, and I'm like, come on now.
Right.
You could have just prevented all this and told us the truth from the beginning, what was in it, so they could have took precautions, better.
And even if they didn't know, they should have just not lied that they didn't know and say, you know what, I'm sorry, we don't know. Because then you at least would be able to trust these agencies. Like, okay, when they don't know, they're going to be honest with us. Instead, they pretended like they knew what was going on. They pretended like everything was under control. And then here we are 3 months later. It's still a mess. Folks are still getting sick. Folks are, still have more questions than answers from agencies like the EPA. We've now got the CDC, recommending that people not get tested for vinyl chloride in their urine. The CDC at this point is essentially saying, you shouldn't do these tests for a couple of reasons. They're saying, number one, the data is difficult to interpret. I'm sorry, but so is all of the EPA data that's being done with all these tests. That's difficult to interpret.
Community Action actually has people coming in Monday for the test the kids.
Good. Oh, I did not hear about that. So
Community Action's actually coming in Monday.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. We'll definitely look into that to provide more information for folks. So, but regardless, a lot of these residents that we're talking to have had to fight tooth and nail to try to get a prescription to get these vinyl chloride urine tests, and it's gotten to the point where there's a chiropractor in town that they've been getting them from because the chiropractor can write prescriptions, and he knows that it's ridiculous that what are they trying to hide here? It to me is starting to look like there's a clear cover-up happening. Yeah. Okay.
And I heard a lot of people trying to get that reimbursed too.
Yeah. And I mean, because it costs hundreds of dollars.
For that.
Agreed.
We're just trying to figure out, if it's in our system, if it's in our body, and they should actually reimburse us for that one.
Absolutely. Well, I won't keep you much longer. Is there anything else you want to add? Otherwise, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat again.
No problem.
Yeah, I missed the purple hair though. There we go. Okay. All right.
I got a lot of shit for that last time.
I liked it. Don't worry about what the people in the comments
that's
say.
That's just one thing that I didn't understand too. Is like people are like, oh, this Trump. Y'all voted for Trump. I'm sorry, a lot of people don't vote. A lot of people did vote for other people, but it doesn't matter who you voted for. This is still America. This is still our people.
Right.
And it was a bad thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter who you vote for. You'd be like, hey, I'm sorry this happens,
Right.
But all that negativity.
Oh yeah.
Like if this happened in your town, you wouldn't be that negative.
Right. Regardless of if the town votes for Trump, a town votes for Biden, everybody is as much of an American as everybody else, and nobody should want to see other people suffer, regardless of what these politicians have done.
No, we didn't. We didn't deserve this. I don't vote. I need to.
No, I mean, it is terrible to see people that polarized on so many of things. And you know what? Like, especially to the people who are like, oh, they voted for Trump, Trump did all this deregulation. I'm sorry, but if you're saying that Joe Biden has done a better job, Joe Biden's been president for 2.5 years. He could have brought back those regulations. Yep. He could have gave a shit when this first happened and actually send his people on the ground here in the beginning. Instead, they waited for weeks. Pete Buttigieg kind of quietly showed up at the last second, did a little interview at like 7 o'clock in the morning and got in and out before anyone could really ask him any hard questions. And you think that that's better? It's outrageous, and that frankly pissed me off as well. Yes. So I'm glad you brought it up. Moo, thank you so much for giving us the time. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you're good.